must find this story now. It is in here. Once upon a time, long, long ago, so long ago that no one's quite sure if it really happened or not, far, far away in Pembrokeshire, a girl was born. A girl was born to a woman, but no one knew who the father was. And this woman was very poor, but she was full of good advice. Always say please, always say thank you, always look left, always look right when crossing the road. If something scary is to be done, do it straight away, for it may not be scary after all. Always wash behind your teeth, and so on. But you can't eat good advice. And when she was 12, our heroine, Gwen, was given for her birthday feast some leaves all prettily put together, it is true, but not very tasty, and she thought that she had had enough there, and she said to her mother that she thought it was time she went, and her mother smiled and nodded and said, well, yes, we'll know here. Take a crust with you, and that was the only food there was. And off she went. She did not know where to go or what to do, so she went off walking. And after a bit, she came to a valley that seemed to be prosperous. There were fat cows in the fields, there were sheep, and there were geese. And as she went further into the valley, she saw fields of corn. And further into the valley until she came across great orchards, and through the orchards to gardens, and at the end of the gardens a great farmhouse. And she greeted a gardener, and she asked who lived in the farmhouse. And well, the farmhouse do belong to the young master. Both his parents died, and his uncle came to look after him. But the young master was stolen by a witch, some say eaten by the witch. Do you think I could get a job there? I don't think so. He's not nice. He's not a good man. The uncle, the new master, I suppose, he's not good at all. I suppose we all stay because we hope that the young master will come back. And also he does pay us and we do eat well. But no, I don't think you'll get a job there, dear. I think it's better to move on. Don't go asking him. And if you did, I don't think you'd like it. But she'd eaten her crust and she couldn't think where else to go. And remembering what her mother had said, that if you were frightened of something, best to do it straight away, she went up bold as brass and knocked on the door. And well, when he came out, she asked if he had a job. Of course I don't have a job. What sort of job would I have for you? What can you do? Well, I can clean, I can garden, I can do anything. I don't need anything, don't need any more mouths to feed. You don't need to pay me. I wouldn't pay you. Said, but I have nothing here for you. You must have something. No. Well, he said, if you really want something, go and bring me the leaves that fell but never grew. And then he slammed the door. And she thought, what a rude man. He didn't even say please, but I'll go and find those leaves nevertheless. At least it's something to do, for she had nothing to do really, so she was quite happy to have something to do. And off she went up into the valley. And she was thirsty, and she saw a little stream, and she went and drank from it, and then sat underneath a hazel tree. And then she looked again, and she saw something that I think only a child could see. For the roots of the hazel were all tangled up, and it looked like the roots were sort of like a beard. There was the beginnings of the mouth and maybe a face, and she said hello, And then the roots sort of transformed and two eyes opened. And she knew she was in the presence of one of the fair folk. And of course, the fair folk will talk to children now and then and will converse. And he said hello, and she said hello, and they talked a bit. And then the fair one asked her what she was doing. Well, she said, I'm looking for a job, but now I'm looking for the leaves that fell but never grew. All of a sudden, the little fairy shook its head, and as it shook its head, it came out of the roots, and it appeared in a hole as a little man about maybe this high. It said, you should not be looking for those. Well, he said, what are they? Oh, well, I can only tell you what I think they are. Long ago, before there was anything in this valley, when it was all rocks, and so long ago, probably before even the fair folk had come here, at the top of the valley was a silver tree, and it was struck by lightning, and after it was struck by lightning, 7 golden leaves grew. Now these leaves were picked by my people, and we prospered, for by touching them you can wish almost anything. And after that, this valley became rich and prosperous, as you see, and everything went well. But these leaves have been stolen by a witch, and I don't think we'll ever get them back. I'll get them back. You will not get them back. You will not go near that witch. That witch will eat you. She is not a good witch. You will leave her alone. You will leave this valley this instant, and you will not think about them again. I want those leaves. Gwen had never had anything in her life that she'd wanted or she'd needed, or never had anything that she felt she could do, but she felt if she found these leaves, something good would come of it. And that was not necessarily good for her, but just a good thing. And what would I do with the leaves that I find, which you won't find them? But if you did find them, you would bury them here under the tree and get them back to us. And then you and all your descendants would be blessed forevermore. He said, oh, don't go that way. He said, go that way, away out of the valley. Bye-bye, she said, and set off confidently up further into the valley. And after a bit, she saw a cottage that was so sweet, a cottage that was so beautiful with neat flower borders and vegetables growing, and everything was immaculate. And she looked at it and she thought, how lovely. And in her heart, she felt this was a good place. And she went and knocked on the door. And oh, such a lovely little old lady came out and smiled and said, hello. She said she was looking for a job. I don't need anyone, she said. I don't need anyone. I'm very good at gardening. I'm good at gardening, the lady said. I happen to, but I'm good at cleaning. I'm good at cleaning, the lady said. This is not a place. We don't need you. You should go. Don't go that way, for there's a witch who lives up there. You don't want to meet her. Go that way. Go away from here. But please, can I stay, mother? Please, can I help you? I don't need paying. Well, the lady said, all right. Well, are you any good with pigs? I never looked after pigs, but I'm sure I could, said Gwen, looking around, but she couldn't see a a pigsty anywhere. She couldn't work out where the pig was, but the lady beckoned her and she went into the cottage. It was so pretty, so immaculate and so clean, everywhere except in a corner where a great boar was chained up on filthy straw. It's just getting a bit much for me to clean up after him. If you could help with him for a bit, I suppose it would be nice to have a girl about the house. Well, thank you, Mother. And Gwen was, well, she was so happy. She was well fed, she slept by the fire, and she would sit and talk with the old lady, who seemed like such a nice old lady, and she called her mother, and perhaps she felt this was the happiest time of her life. One evening, after the old lady had gone to bed, she sat scratching the boar behind the head. Poor boar, you poor, poor pig, you know that, don't you? You're a poor pig, she said directly to the boar. Ha, said the boar. Don't worry about me, worry about you. Well, she said, didn't know you could talk. I can only talk if I'm spoken to, and you've only just spoken to me for the first time, which I think is jolly rude. But why should I worry about me? Well, once that wicked witch upstairs has eaten me, she'll turn you into pig and eat you too. What? She, which, of course she's a witch. Don't tell a witch, I mean, she doesn't look like a witch during the day, but if you saw her now, oh, you would know she was a witch, all right. And does she have the leaves that fell but never grew? Oh, yes, she does. Where does she keep them? Under her pillow in a purse. Gwen looked at the stairs going up to where the witch slept. And she was terrified, but remembering what her mother had said, if you're frightened of something, do it straight away, for it may not be as bad, but she thought it could only be worse. So she started to climb the stairs. Every now and again it would creak and she would freeze. When she got to the top, she could just see lying in bed the most hideous hag she'd ever seen, snoring. And she knew it was the witch. With great care, she crept up and she put her hand under the pillow and she found the purse and she took it out. And with enormous care and her heart in her mouth, she went downstairs. And then, with her hand on the leaves, she said to the pig, I wish you were free. And the pig turned into a boy. All of a sudden, Gwen, is that you? Came the witch's voice. Gwen was terrified. She didn't know what to say. But then the poker from the fire answered in her voice, yes, I'm just putting another log on the fire. Gwen, holding the leaves, said, I wish we could get out of here. And the heavily locked door unlocked itself and opened. And they started towards the door. Where are my leaves? Come here now. Come upstairs, Gwen, came the voice. They looked at each other. But then the broomstick answered, I'm just coming. I'll bring them back up. And they ran out the door. But of course, no sooner had they run out the door than the witch came down the stairs. And as they started out of the garden, the witch came out, and the witch got on her broomstick and started to fly. And they sprinted into the wood and around the corner, but they knew the witch would overtake them soon. And then, holding on to the feathers, Gwen said, I wish I wish that we could hide and the witch won't find us. And all of a sudden they were turned into a stream with a duck on them. And the witch came on her broomstick around the corner at high speed. Seeing the duck, she stopped and she said, "Duck, have you seen a boy and a girl?" "Quack, quack. Have you seen a boy and a girl? Where did they go?" "Quack. I'm going to kill you, duck, if you don't tell me." And then the duck, that was the boy, of course, went underwater. And she set off with the broomstick through the air. But of course, her magic power was waning. And she crashed to the ground and split open her head and died. Well, the boy and the girl heard this and came back to life. And then they made their way back to the farm. And all the servants and the workers were so happy to see the boy, because it was the boy from the farm back. And they came in a sort of procession up to the farmhouse. The uncle did not seem so happy, and the boy said, "Look, this is Gwen, who rescued me from the witch. She's going to live here." No, we've got enough. We've met before. We've got enough mouths to feed. Very kind of you to have rescued my uncle, but you must go. We've met before too. Yes, I'm afraid no, not a very a beggar girl, not suitable person to live here. No, off you go. "Ah," she said, "but I found the leaves that fell but never grew." "Oh, how do you give them to me, Richard?" No. We must. We're very tired. Can I sleep first, please? Can I? Well, he suddenly became a bit nicer and said, "Yes, you must be very tired. Come. We'll prepare a good room. Wait here a second." He came back and said, "I prepared a room for you." And he took her into this great room with an enormous, great four-poster bed with a great canopy, and he was all smiling and saying, "Did have a lovely sleep, and here's some food out for you, my love, and don't worry, I'm sure everything you'll be able to stay." And well, she did not believe him, but she thought she would sleep and think things through. So she got into the bed, but she had never in her life slept in a bed, and it had this horsehair mattress that was oh so soft, and these strange down quilts above her. And she moved, and she just couldn't get herself comfortable there. So she took a blanket and she went and lay on the floor, and in no time at all was fast asleep. And she had no idea how long it was, but she was woken up by the most enormous crash. And sitting up, she saw that the bed had collapsed and the great heavy canopy had come down. And then the servants rushed in, and they were so pleased that she was alive. And the last one to come in was the uncle, who did not look pleased at all. He looked very cross, and she put her hands on the leaves and said, "I wish you'd tell the truth. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you and my nephew. You wretched people, all this place will be mine. I'm going to get you. I'll put that boy down the well. I'll kill him properly." The witch didn't know what she was doing, but I'll know. And the servants were horrified, and they took hold of him, and they marched him up to the magistrate. And of course, the magistrate wasn't very interested in what servants would say. So they listen, and he knew the uncle. Now, James, he said, "What's all this is about? Why have they brought you here?" "Because I'm going to kill my nephew and that girl. I'm going to chop them up and throw them in the well. I'm going to make sure they're dead. Well, when he'd said that to the magistrate didn't have much choice and had to put him in prison. And indeed, he stayed there for the rest of his life. For if ever he was called and asked, he told the same story. Meanwhile, Gwen buried the leaves beneath the hazel tree. And when she was somebody outside. Shiva, shush! 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 Shiva, shush, 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 shush. She buried the leaves beneath the hazel tree. And when she grew up, she married the boy. And they were blessed with a happy life and happy children. And what's more, their descendants still live in the valley, and the valley is still rich. And they are still happy, and they are still prosperous, and they are still lucky. And they all live happily ever after. Good night. Sleep well. Sweet dreams. Night, night.